The Last Winter of Ravensford. In the year of our Lord 1347, winter came early to the valley of Ravensford. Snow fell before the harvest was finished, and the river froze thick enough for carts to cross. People said it was a bad sign. They said God had turned his face away. Ravensford was a small village, no walls, no market, only a church, a forge, and a dozen wooden houses crouched together like frightened animals. Above them all stood the old bell tower, cracked and leaning, its iron bell dark with rust. No one rang it any more. The elders said the bell was cursed. Long ago, when war last came to the valley, the bell had been rung in warning. By nightfall, Ravensford burned. Since then, the rope was cut, and the bell was left to sleep. Thomas was 17 that winter. He was the son of Edgar the blacksmith, broad-shouldered, quiet, and already stronger than most grown men. His days were spent feeding the forge and shaping iron. His nights were spent listening to the wind, to the wolves, and sometimes to his father's whispered prayers. "Keep your head low," Edgar told him. "These are dangerous times." And they were. War moved like a sickness across the land. Lords fought lords. Kings fought kings. Soldiers stole, burned, and killed in the name of banners that meant nothing to peasants. News arrived slowly, carried by travelers with empty eyes. One evening, as darkness swallowed the village, someone knocked on the forge door. 3 knocks. Weak. Desperate. Thomas opened it and froze. 3 men stood outside, soldiers by their armor, but broken ones. One bled from the leg. Another leaned on a spear like a crutch. Their cloaks were torn, their faces hollow with fear. "Please," one whispered. "Hide us." Thomas knew what it meant. Harboring deserters was treason. Punishable by death. Before he could answer, his father appeared behind him. Edgar looked at the men. Then at the blood in the snow. "Inside," he said quietly. They hid the soldiers beneath the forge floor, among old tools and charcoal. Edgar cleaned their wounds as best he could. No one spoke of reward. No one spoke of mercy. They spoke only of silence. But silence never lasts. At dawn, horns sounded from the eastern road. The Lord's men had come. Steel boots crushed snow as soldiers entered Ravensford. Their captain read aloud an order: all able-bodied men were to be searched. Any who hid traitors would hang. Fear spread faster than fire. Doors were broken. Homes searched. Cries filled the air. Thomas felt his heart pound like a drum. Beneath his feet, the wounded men breathed softly. "They'll find them," Thomas whispered. Edgar said nothing. His hands trembled. Then the captain's voice came closer. "Search the forge." The soldiers approached. Thomas looked past them, to the bell tower rising against the grey sky. The cursed bell. He remembered the stories. Fire. Screams. Ash. He also remembered the men bleeding under his floor. "I'll do it," Thomas said suddenly. Edgar turned. "No." But Thomas was already moving. He ran. Snow burned his lungs as he climbed the hill. Soldiers shouted behind him, but none followed. No one chased a mad boy running toward a curse. Thomas reached the tower. The rope still hung there, frayed, untouched for decades. His hands shook. "If this village burns," he whispered, "let it burn for something." He pulled. The bell screamed. The sound tore through the valley, wild and furious. Birds fled the trees. Echoes crashed against the hills like thunder. The soldiers below froze. Fear crossed their faces. Old fear. The kind stories leave behind. "The bell," someone muttered. The captain hesitated. He knew the legend. Everyone did. By the time he shouted orders, it was too late. Panic spread. Men mounted horses. Others fled on foot. Within minutes, they were gone. The bell fell silent again. Nothing burned. No fire came from the sky. No curse followed. Thomas climbed down slowly. His legs nearly gave way. The villagers stared at him, not with anger, but with awe. That night, the wounded soldiers left Ravensford under cover of darkness. No one saw where they went. Winter passed. So did the war. Years later, travelers would ask about the bell. About the boy who rang it. Thomas became the blacksmith after his father died. Strong. Quiet. Respected. The bell still hangs in the tower. It has never rung again. Not because it is cursed, but because everyone knows now. Some sounds are not meant to warn of doom, but to remind the world that courage still lives among ordinary people.